Okay, in the video of today I'm going to reply to another questions that I received in the Discord group from one of my students, which is a quite legitimate and reasonable question. And this student was surprised why during the Nei Gong practice usually we isolate ourselves from the ground. In particular, I think he asked, if I remember correctly, the all questions was why do we isolate ourselves when we practice Nei Gong compared to other systems where they encourage grounding and exchange from the sky and the earth. Let's go step by step to understand this and be very practical. And also I'm gonna, let's say, reveal and talk about something that is not going to influence the way that you practice as Nei Gong students, because we don't want that. We don't want to go into imaginative processes. Certain things will happen when we are ready for that. So the first reason, and the only reason actually, why we isolate ourselves from the ground when we practice Nei Gong, it's because we are trying to accumulate energy in ourselves. It's a cultivating, let's say, practice that we are doing, where we want to store the energy in our body. While grounding could be very effective and useful for circulating practices, so where we exchange with the environment, by isolating ourselves from the ground, we make sure that the effort that we are doing with our practice actually brings some result in the direction that we want in the Nei Gong system, which is accumulating energy inside ourselves. And to demonstrate that this is not just a theory or some kind of intellectual concept, you can actually find out for yourself by seeing videos of Qi emissions. Usually when you see a Qi emission, which is the process of emitting emitting energy, there is always somebody holding the ankle of the person receiving the Qi, so that the energy could be attracted from the person, let's say, emitting. The energy could travel through the whole body of the person receiving it and leaving through the feet. This is important because the energy doesn't need to stay one point, which is not good for health and for the purpose of this kind of technique process. So the fact that the person is holding, another person is holding the ankle of the person receiving the Qi is actually attracting and pulling the energy towards the feet, so that the energy can travel throughout the whole body. Another more practical way of seeing how energy is attracted by the ground, basically, is by seeing maybe one of the videos where it's me and Shifu Costantino Valente only in the gym, let's say. Nobody's holding the ankle, and instead of having a person holding the ankle, I'm actually, I have a piece of fabric, wet fabric under the ankle with a wire connected to the ground of the socket, the electric socket of the building, which is acting in the same way. Qi is attracted by the ground. So in that way, nobody's is pulling the energy in that direction, but the electric socket, so the ground system of the electrical system, is pulling the energy in that direction. So the fact that Qi is attracted by the ground, it's a fact. And because the kind of practices that we do in the Nei Gong system wants to accumulate energy in ourselves, we have to isolate ourselves from the ground. Because under our feet we have a very powerful and big element called planet Earth, which is much stronger than us, and that is going to vanish basically our internal work of cultivating energy and storing it within ourselves. In other system and in other Qigong practices, let's say, remember that Nei Gong is a Neigong practice, so it's something a little bit different than Qigong. Qigong usually is only for health, mental, emotional, and physical health. Nei Gong is actually wants to go a little bit beyond that kind of foundational requirement to use the excess of energy for different purposes, whether it is martial arts, spirituality, or healing others. So for Qigong practices, it's quite common, I think, to find practices where we are barefoot and we exchange with the ground, so the energy is circulating with the sky and the ground and the earth, whatever, in that direction. In the Nei Gong, we want to store inside our body, to build up more energy than what we need for ourselves to use that excess for the previously mentioned reasons we might have. Each of us is different, so each of us might have a different goal in life. Replying to the second part of the question, which is, in other practices they talk about exchanging with the sky and the ground and meeting these two energies in the middle of Dantian. Yes, we have the same in the Nei Gong system. It's something that happens later on at advanced stages, and it is actually what allows Fa Qi, the Qi emission, to happen. But it's not something that I wish to discuss more than this in a video like this, not because there are secrets, but because unless we have gone through certain processes, we have reached certain steps, this kind of concept or answers that I might give that could be partially true, partially not true, will influence the way we practice. And because I care about my students, I don't want the students to start practicing. So I'm very sorry for the other people who are tuning in into the channel or blog and watching this video, but strictly for teaching purposes, I'm not going to expand into this, because I don't want the students to start to imagining things when they practice. So it's easy to change the nature of a practice by coloring it with our intention, with our imagination. So if I give an exercise, or let's say the student is a certain stage of our path, and he's already thinking about the sky and the ground, while in reality his mind should be on doing other things, this is going to change the effectiveness of the system. And unfortunately, we're going to go into la-la land. And we are lucky enough that we have a system that really works. The Nei Gong system is very effective, it's practical. We give the minimal theory required to practice well. The rest is discovered by ourselves and validated with our teacher. So keep things simple. This kind of processes also happen in the Nei Gong system. Those are true in terms of unifying the sky and the ground, or the yin and the yang, whatever you want to, whichever terms you wish to use it. But in general, nothing is so intrinsically one way or another. It really depends where we are in our process of refinement and what kind of inner processes we are doing. So I hope that I replied to this question. My suggestion again to all my students, even to everybody, if I can give a tip, it's just to stay practical. If I can understand that unfortunately very few people in the world are able to experience Qi or energy to a very high level and to a very tangible level, to a very to such an intensity that things are just reported clearly by the practitioner. I'm aware of that. So the tendency is actually to go into Qigong into a very intellectual way. And also our mind, especially in the Western mind, is trained to be asking questions and having some kind of intellectual understanding about the processes before they happen. Well, this could undermine our progress, and also is not actually the Chinese way of going it. They usually give just the exercises, you practice, then you see your teacher again, and they don't even tell you more than what it is needed that you have to do, only the minimum requirement. So my suggestion is stay practical. I hope that I replied to your question about why do we isolate ourselves from the ground. And please, just do one thing, keep practicing if you feel that you are in the right direction. And don't ask too many questions, because most of the answers will also come along the way with the practice, even as my teacher said once, even without asking them. Because when we start to make certain experiences, it will be so clear that we will understand things experientially rather than going intellectually. So keep it simple. The intellectual aspect is needed only when we do the experience, when we talk with our teacher to validate the experience so we can verify what we are experiencing. But apart from that, can be a very confusing and a very undermining obstacle in our journey. So stay practical. If you have questions, reach me, or like this, if it is something that it is valuable for everybody. If you are one of my students, join the Discord group. It's free, only for the students. It's available. And drop your questions there so that I can make better video for you that hopefully can clarify certain questions. Have a good day.